I never asked for your opinion. You money-grabbing housewife, just keep your mouth shut. You're an outsider." My mill said that with great intensity. I calmly asked her, "So, I'm an outsider?" With the next words from my mill, everything was set on a path of destruction. My name is Sophie. I'm 40 years old. I live with my husband, Simon, and our 2 sons. I met Simon almost 20 years ago. Originally, we were in the same college club. Looking back, even though we were close in age, Simon, who was a senior in college, seemed like such a mature figure to me as a freshman. In fact, Simon had leadership qualities and was relied upon by everyone. Yet, he never acted arrogant and was always humble. He was well liked by everyone and was a genuinely respectable person. I found myself drawn to him, and eventually, we started dating. Simon is very honest and has always been very kind to me since we started dating. He seemed flawless, and I always felt blessed to be dating such a wonderful person. However, one thing that always concerned me was that Simon always seemed short on money. He wore the same kind of outfits and seemed to be trying to limit food expenses. When our college club planned trips, he would often say, "Sorry, I'm short on money this month. Please go and have fun without me," and would not join. I'm not a big spender, and I don't care whether my boyfriend is wealthy or not, but having to always consider his finances during our dates did trouble me a bit. Thankfully, he never asked me for money. The reason Simon was always struggling financially was because he was sending money back to his parents. Although Simon's parents were still alive and didn't seem to be in dire need of the money, he mentioned he felt obligated to send them some because of everything they did for him growing up. When I heard this, I was deeply moved by their wonderful parent-child relationship. I assumed Simon's parents were perhaps making him continue these payments to teach him the value of money. Maybe they were saving all the money he sent them for emergencies or future needs. Considering how wonderful Simon was, I thought his parents must be great people too. However, it turned out I was mistaken. As our relationship progressed, I learned that Simon's parents were quite spendthrift. I had been to Simon's house a few times and noticed they frequently bought new appliances and often went on domestic trips. It was obvious they were quite extravagant. My mill was particularly excessive, always flaunting brand-name clothes and bags. But as we were only dating, it wasn't my place to say anything. They were getting a few $100s from him every month, so it wasn't much. However, when we talked about marriage, I made it clear that the financial support to his parents needed to stop. They weren't struggling financially, and we needed to save for our future. It might sound cold, but if it's for their luxuries, I'd rather use the money for our kids' futures. I made this clear to Simon numerous times before our marriage. We also explained it to his parents and they agreed. My Phil told us, "We can make living without the money from you, so it's fine." I was relieved because I had concerns they might get upset about our decision. I expected my mill to say something like, "How dare my son spends money on some random woman instead of his own mother." After we got married, we didn't regularly send money to his parents, and life was smooth sailing. Although Simon occasionally gave them some money from his personal allowance, I turned a blind eye. Then, one day, his parents made an outrageous request. They wanted a new car and asked Simon to cover the loan payments. Of course, I opposed. I could turn a blind eye when it was just the occasional small amount of money, but with a car loan, a significant sum would be coming out of our household budget every month. Besides, the car my in-laws had was just bought a few years ago, and it had absolutely no problems. Why would an elderly couple need to drive a brand new car anyway? If they were buying it with their own money, I wouldn't say a thing. But I can't believe they were expecting Simon, my husband, to foot the loan. I couldn't let this happen. This is absolutely ridiculous. They're acting out because you've been spoiling them so much, Simon. If you give in to such demands, it's just going to escalate. But Simon kept insisting, "Well, my mother's demands have been pretty outrageous. It's hard for me to say no." I managed to persuade him not to give in this time, but it became evident that my in-laws see Simon as a cash cow, and he was just blindly sending money their way. They had kept asking Simon for money, making excuses like wanting to try some new food or wanting to buy gifts for friends. Yet, things were mostly peaceful until I turned 30. Our 2 sons were growing up well, and we were looking forward to the future when something unexpected happened. My Phil suddenly passed away just a few days after falling ill. He had always been very healthy, never really sick, and was only in his 60s, so it was a shock. If we had known he had a terminal illness or a chronic condition, we could have discussed their future living arrangements. But his passing was so sudden that the whole family was in turmoil. The main issue was figuring out how to support my Mill. Until then, they'd lived in an apartment. But with the passing of my Phil, it wasn't possible for her to afford the rent alone. After much discussion, we were faced with two choices. We had to choose either take her in and look after her or financially support her while she lives on her own. Honestly, I wasn't in favor of either, but I was especially against living together. I hoped she'd move to a cheaper place and we could help her out financially. But then she dropped a bombshell. She didn't want to leave the apartment she was living in. She said it was because of the memories with her husband, but I suspect she didn't want to give up her current lifestyle. Simon tried to convince her many times, but each time he came back, it was decided that we would send her $1,500 monthly. So, for the past 10 years, we've been sending money to my Mill. However, recently, things changed. My father's health deteriorated, forcing him to retire. Having lost my mother when I was young, he raised me alone. As a result, he never really saved money. He always put me first, sacrificing his own needs. It was obvious that his life post-retirement will be tough. He would probably struggle to make ends meet without our help. We needed to take a hard look at our household expenses. I immediately consulted with my husband and began helping my father financially. I wasn't sure about it, but I thought it was best to let my Mill know about our decision. I didn't want her saying things like, "How dare you give away money without telling me," later on. Furthermore, there were things my Mill has said and done in the past that I haven't agreed with. Even after all the financial support we've given her, not once has she thanked us. By telling her about the support from my father, I wanted to hint, "Look, we have our hands full too. You should be more appreciative." I explained to Mill in detail about my father's poor condition and that we would be supporting him financially for a while. At that time, my Mill put on a face that seemed calm and collected. "It's not like I need your help. If you want to stop sending me money, that's fine." I wish she'd just thank us once in a while, but she never does, whether out of pride or something else. I was quite upset, but I decided to firmly stop the financial support to her, something I'd been contemplating for a while. Although I was displeased with my Mill's attitude, the fact that I could now help my father made me happy. My father was in tears of gratitude. All this time, whenever I offered him support, he'd say, "Don't worry about me. Your happiness and your family comes first." But this time he tearfully accepted, saying, "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't be relying on my child like this. I promise I'll pay you back. I'm so sorry." I felt really happy that I could finally give back to my father, who had taken such good care of me. However, my Mill's behavior afterward was infuriating. Every time she saw me, she made sarcastic remarks about my father. "Isn't your father still not working? Just lazing around all day? Must be nice. People are supposed to work, right? Lazing around, especially as a man, is just pathetic." Such heartless comments were thrown at me. Eventually, she insinuated that my father was pretending to be ill and sarcastically said, "Must be nice to just laze around and have money come in." The money was earned by my son, though. I couldn't believe what she said. She herself had relied on our financial support for so long, and now she had the audacity to say such things. And she kept complaining about us stopping the financial support to her. Even though she had agreed and seemed okay with it earlier, it really ticked me off when she brought it up later. Complaining about how she can't go to her favorite restaurant anymore because I'm sending money to my father, or how she can't go on the vacation she was looking forward to, or how she can't upgrade her car, always talking about her own luxuries. It's not the same situation. Without our support, my father couldn't survive. It sounds like you just want to indulge in luxury. I did argue with her a few times when I couldn't take it anymore, but every time, she always had a snide remark. "Shut up. Stay-at-home mothers like you should just keep quiet. You probably don't understand a thing about money. You have no job, no income, and you're just leeching off your husband's earnings, yet you have the nerve to talk big." It seemed my Mill thinks that Simon is the sole breadwinner in our family and that I hardly earn anything. But let me clarify, I'm staying at home, but it's a misunderstanding that I'm unemployed and without income. I contribute to our living expenses just as much. The misconception that I'm just siphoning off Simon's earnings to give to my father is completely wrong. My mill often said, I just can't stand the thought of Sophie giving all the money my son earned to Sophie's father. Even though Simon has tried explaining multiple times, my mill assumed he was just covering for me and lying. She told him, Simon, you're such a good-hearted man, defending your money-grubbing wife like that, and wouldn't listen to reason. Essentially, she was stuck in the outdated notion that men should be the primary earners in a family. In this day and age, dual incomes are common, and there are plenty of households where the wife earns more than the husband. So, after multiple debates on this, one day, my mill barged in demanding we resume sending her money. She wanted the amount doubled to $3,000. Why on earth would she need that much money? She claimed, you stopped sending me money for a while, so I need to get what I was supposed to get at that time as well. It was pure nonsense. What felt off was how unusually frantic and desperate my mill seemed. Just give me the money and stop with all the chatter. You're supposed to help your parent out. Given her unusual urgency, Simon and I decided to calmly hear her out, and to our shock, she confessed that she had been deeply engrossed in gambling for the past few months. To make matters worse, she had accumulated a substantial debt from consumer loans and was struggling to make ends meet. In essence, she was asking us to help her pay off her debt. When we heard this, our jaws dropped. I knew she had been living a lavish lifestyle, but I never thought she'd be deep into gambling even after we stopped sending her money. My mill said, you guys stopped supporting me, so I thought I'd try to make more money on my own. She tried to blame us in the most nonsensical way, but Simon was livid at this. Do you have any idea how much effort I've put into sending you money? All the trips and good food we've given you were to show our gratitude. I would never give you money just so you can gamble it away. However, my mill retorted, if you can send money to the lazy father of Sophie who does nothing but loaf around at home, you can surely spare some for me. There's no need to support her father in the first place. I tried to speak up, but immediately my mill shouted, stay-at-home mother should just shut up. I couldn't hold back any longer, and slammed my paycheck on the table in front of her. Seeing the amount, her eyes widened. Of course she would. I earn way more than Simon through my work from home, and most of our expenses, including the money sent to my mill, come from my salary. Look at this. I've told you countless times that most of the money you received came from what I earned. My mill, with wide eyes, said, you, a woman, earn this much. I responded sharply, in this day and age, it's not uncommon at all. When are you going to get with the times? Simon finally came to his senses and said, I've explained this to you so many times, and you've never even thanked Sophie once. I've had enough. We're cutting ties with you. My mill turned pale and stammered, please wait, Sophie, I didn't know this. But I only replied, you told me to shut up, so I have no intention of talking to you. And kicked her out of the house, cutting ties with her. And so, the long-standing ordeal of supporting my mill finally came to a complete end. Simon, who had always sent money to her without questioning it, was in shock when he saw the total amount. I'd been sending her this much. And she never even thanked me, just kept asking for more. I won't help her no matter what happens now. Simon's anger was completely justified. I personally think he should have realized this sooner, though. Regardless, we're finally free from sending money to my mill. It seems we'll finally be able to save up properly for the future. Simon even told me, since we've been supporting my parents for so long, don't hesitate to send as much as you want to your father. Thanks to that, my father's health rapidly improved. He even found a new job and started working again. As for my mill, after being refused by Simon, she apparently tried to leech off her other children but failed miserably. Now, she's being chased by debt collectors and is living a lonely life. She truly got what she deserved. As for me, with the money we saved from not supporting my mill, our quality of life has improved.